G'day there guys, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not too big. Take from that what you will, and it's your man Markee. Welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy today's bloody good episode. Thank you. Posted by user Gurdon Ramslice. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not meeting my bio family and responding to the message they sent me with a simple no thanks? So, I'm not sure how to start a post off, but I'll try to give a bit of background information, I guess. Oh, and in case it's important, I am 25 male and the parents are probably in their late 40s to early 50s. Long story short, I was put up for adoption by these people, got adopted, got placed out of my adoptive parents' house when I was 9, and spent the remainder of my youth in and out of foster homes and placements. Fortunately, I never had that much of a problem. I quickly got used to it, and when I was 18, I managed to get myself into college and it all worked out for me. I've got a good job now, a lovely girlfriend, a ton of friends who I consider family, and I am happy, to be honest. I ended up receiving a very long message from a woman on one of my social media accounts, and it boiled down to a load of excuses as to why they gave me up, primarily centering around their age. Early 20s, conservative upbringing, they weren't married, and their parents forcing them. They then started telling me about themselves and what they referred to as my siblings. They finally finished that off with stating their desire to meet me and that they wanted me to be a part of their family. Now, I don't hold much against these people. I know it may seem like that, but I don't. It's a case of not caring, if anything. I have never longed to meet them, searched them out, or anything of the sort. I just have never had the desire to know them. It wouldn't change anything anyway. I ended up responding with a simple no thanks, and followed that up by telling them not to contact me anymore. I figured that would be the end of it, but I couldn't be more wrong. The following days I started receiving messages from these siblings uttering their desire to meet me. When I told them the same, that turned into accusations of making their parents cry. I ended up blocking them all, which resulted in messages from their friends and new accounts, so I eventually just stopped using the account. It is obvious these people want to meet me and are hurt by my refusal, so am I the a-hole? This doesn't seem to me like a situation that warrants this kind of, response from them. You've never been close before this, you don't know them at all before this, you don't owe them anything. There is no reason for you to be an a-hole in this situation. You're not a piece of crap by telling people, no, I don't want to know you, please stop contacting me. They suck for continuing to pursue this, and this is one of the rare posts where you haven't asked anyone and they said, you're the a-hole for this. So I'm kind of curious why you're asking the question. Maybe you do feel a bit of regret for not doing so, and I just want to say that no, you're doing the right thing, it's protecting you and your self-interests, and that's all that matters. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, it's your life and your decision. They gave up all rights to you 25 years ago, and they don't automatically get a pass when they start feeling bad about it. It's your choice. That's the thing, I just don't care to meet them. They've showed you how right you are to not meet them by harassing you. If this keeps up, report them to the police and get a restraining order. You owe these people nothing, and best of luck in everything. If they show up at my house, I will, but for now I am fine with just ignoring them. Not the a-hole, their attempted manipulation and intimidation to get you to meet them is a huge red flag. You are doing fine and are happy. I say no need to involve a bunch of family. Well, to be honest, I wasn't going to meet them, manipulation or not. I just wonder, what do they need from you? I mean, come on. It's not just a pure love for your blue eyes, seeing how the whole pack is engaged and hyped. This is a lot of people putting in way too much effort. My bet is on organ donation or something material. I mean, I do have pretty sexy blue eyes though, so who knows? Eyes are an organ. I might be wrong, but I haven't heard of an eye donation as of yet, and if that is a thing, I'm going to make it clear I am not donating crap when I die. I mean, a liver or something, alright, I can do that, but I'm keeping my eyes. Posted by user QuickVillage546, titled, Am I the a-hole for going to stay at my parents' cabin for a few days after my wife told me she was pregnant? I don't think I am, but she does. This was a planned pregnancy, so it wasn't unexpected, but it's still big news. So I had already been experiencing a lot of anxiety about parenthood, and have for some time, even some performance anxiety because of it. But when she told me she was pregnant, it kicked it into overdrive. I felt like I was going to have a panic attack, but more than that, I felt like I just needed to get away from her and this situation, and to have some time to think about it. I ended up going to stay at my parents' cabin for a few days, and I think it helped. When I came back, I felt more relaxed and not as anxious. I also had time to really think about the pregnancy and come to terms with it. My wife now says that I shouldn't have gone and should have stayed at home to support her. She doesn't feel like what I did was fair, since she also has fears and anxieties, and she thinks I prioritized my mental well-being over hers and the baby. I think that's an extreme reaction, since I only was gone a few days, kept in constant contact with her, and came back in a much better state. I can understand why my reaction was probably not what she wanted, but she did tell me that she wouldn't object if I felt like I needed a few days to process things. What I did doesn't seem like something that would make me the a-hole. I don't really think that my wife is one either, unless it would be for telling me it was okay to go away, and then changing her mind. So I am here asking if anything that happened makes either of us the a-hole. From the way you word it, you did this trip unexpectedly and without her having knowledge that you were going to do it. I understand you have to prioritize your mental health, and I understand that she did say in the past it's okay for you to take a few days off to process things. But can you not see this from her perspective? She told you some big news, and you just disappeared for a few days, and I wonder if you were even in contact with her for that time. You didn't tell her where you were going, who you were seeing, what you were doing, why you were leaving. You just disappeared. That is an a-hole act to do, and she is justified in those emotions. How about try communicating next time? You're the a-hole. No, absolutely not. You do not get to act like this. This was a planned pregnancy, which means you both agreed to do it and actively worked to achieve it. The second you signed on for unprotected sex, you accepted that your well-being is now second place. You're stressed? You're anxious? How do you think your wife feels? She has a literal human being growing inside of her that is dependent on her for everything and will be dependent on her for a lot of things after it's out. This isn't some sort of an abstract for her. It is happening to her literal body and her literal life. And you, the person who agreed to take this journey with her and was an equal contributor to getting it started, walked out at the very beginning. How is your wife supposed to trust you now? How can she believe that you are not going to walk out when the baby's screaming, or your child is sick or struggling with school or having disciplinary issues? How can she ever expect or know that you will really and truly stick around when things get hard? Do you understand the element of instability you have now introduced into your wife's life? You don't get to do that. You have issues? Fine. See a shrink. But you don't get to do this. You very likely undermined the very foundation of your marriage. You owe your wife an enormous apology. You acknowledge that you were deeply wrong, and that while you have concerns, you addressed them in the exactly wrong way. Find yourself a therapist if you have stuff to deal with. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole? Gut thought is that you abandoned her. You abandoned her and her anxieties. Why in the world are you having a baby if you can't even accept the news of a positive pregnancy test? Lol, seriously though, you haven't even seen an ultrasound yet, and you're this freaked out? If it was accidental and he didn't know if he was willing to raise a child, maybe he'd be okay here. But they literally planned for this. He got a confirmation of a plan and needed to take a few days. What the hell? Honestly, he sounds insanely immature, and I'll bet it shows in other ways too. Hopefully his wife will be cool taking care of 2 children, her husband, and her newborn. You're the a-hole. You come to terms with death, not a planned pregnancy. If you were experiencing such anxiety that you bailed for several days as soon as you got the news, you had no business trying for a baby. How do you think that made your newly pregnant wife feel, having her partner run away when he heard the news? Posted by user Neat Distinct. Titled, Am I the a-hole for inviting a guy friend to try an upscale restaurant with me because my boyfriend will only eat fine dining if I'm the one paying? My boyfriend Jake and I have been dating for a year. He comes from a wealthy family while I don't, and he is very particular about money. Early in our relationship, he told me that we shouldn't give each other gifts that cost over $50, and he doesn't like dining in expensive restaurants because he says he doesn't want our relationship to be based on material things and we should focus on saving for the future. I easily agreed because I'm not with him to be given expensive gifts or to be wined and dined daily, and I thought it was great that he wanted to save for the future. What I didn't expect is that he would never even ask me to have dinner in a nice restaurant. It was either fast food, a local place, we always split the bill, or for special occasions he would cook for me himself and we would have a meal in his apartment. There was nothing wrong with that, but even just on special occasions, I wish we would go somewhere nice. I get that fine dining is something Jake is used to because of his family, but it's not the norm for me, so of course I'm excited to try an upscale restaurant once in a while. He tells me that they are just overpriced and serve so little food anyway, and the only time he has agreed to go with me are the times when I told him that I would foot the bill for the both of us. I had a tough week at work last week, and I really wanted to treat myself this weekend. So when I learned that an upscale restaurant I've wanted to try just reopened, I thought it was a great idea to have dinner there. I'm not swimming in money right now because of unexpected expenses due to the pandemic, so I'm not that excited to be paying for 2, since I know that Jake wouldn't go if he had to pay for himself, much less the both of us. So I asked my friend Tom, who I know also wants to try that restaurant, if he wants to go have dinner there and we can go Dutch. He said yes. When I told Jake that I was going to have dinner at that restaurant with Tom, he got angry and said I should have asked him. I told him that I had no reason to believe that he would have a different answer for me because I've asked him to eat at nice restaurants 6 times in the past and he always says no. The 2 times he has said yes were after I assured him that I would pay for the both of us, and I don't want to pay for 2 right now. He told me that if I think $150 is too expensive to spend at a restaurant, then why do I think it's alright to spend $75? He says I should just save that money anyway. Am I the a-hole? Damn, Jake. God forbid she wants to go out to a nice restaurant once in a blue moon. Gotta save that money all the time. We wouldn't want to be having nice experiences in our life, would we? We wouldn't want to spend the money here and there just to have a bit of fun after a stressful week, because that's just terrible. And you shouldn't go with a friend who's going to do it Dutch because your boyfriend can just soak up more money from you instead. Ha, that sounds like a great time. That sounds like a great relationship. I'm sure she's really happy with you, Jake. I'm going to go with a not the a-hole for this one, and I can understand that it's not completely a deal breaker because he makes up for it in other ways, but it seems like he's hard judging you for wanting to go out and wanting to split the bill. I would call him an asshole to his face because that's what he's being, and he needs to quit the attitude, not the a-hole. Info. Is this what you want the rest of your life to look like? Because I guarantee you that once you reach the point in your relationship where you share finances with Scrooge McDuck and he gets an actual legitimate say in how you spend money, you will never get to do anything fun or frivolous with it again. Can confirm, was in a relationship like this. He'd buy a new guitar, but I didn't purchase clothes or shoes for myself when needed for years because it was unnecessary. He flipped out when I opened my own bank account for the money that I made and told him joint was for bills. He ended the relationship over it. I can also confirm. I had a boyfriend who also flipped out when I spent the equivalent of $120 on a winter coat for myself. We were living somewhere with long cold winters, so I would be using it literally every day. Then, a couple of weeks later, he arrived home with a new pair of sunglasses that he bought for $150, and he did not see the irony at all. Same guy would happily let me pay for meals when we went out, until I would have to point out that I had paid for the last 4 times. Don't you think it's your turn this time, honey? And once asked me to pay him back for a hotel stay that I had paid for. It doesn't get any better with people like this. I could never date a miser again. Not the a-hole. Jake's reasoning around money makes no sense. I'm okay with spending $20 on pizza, but I think 40 is too much. So should I just not have pizza at all? I'm okay with keeping the thermostat at 68 and paying the electric bill that brings with the AC, but I'm not okay with cooling the place to 63. So should I just never use the AC? You have a price point you don't want to exceed, and that's perfectly fair. Jake has been very consistent in not wanting to attend or pay for these meals, and it's fine to ask a friend to go instead. Now, if Jake's concern was, it's a date and it's cheating and Tom has a thing for you, that might be different and worth a talk. But Jake seems to just be looking for a free ride and is mad that you're catching on that while it's fine to agree to not spend over a certain amount, that means there will be things you do to treat yourself that he doesn't benefit from. He wanted no gifts over $50, so why is he making a stink that you won't spend $75 on his meal? He has disparaged your interest, he's absolutely treating you like a gold digger while pretty much behaving like one himself, and he's now trying to dictate how you spend your money. None of this is reasonable and healthy relationship behavior. Completely agree. I also agree with your point that if he felt like it was inappropriate for her to have dinner with another man, it would be worth a conversation. But man, can you imagine being in a relationship where you can't hang out with friends? I always wonder why people let that kind of stuff go in relationships. I personally can't imagine being in a relationship where hanging out with a friend who has the same interests causes such anger, or being in a relationship with someone I don't share finance with, but feels entitled to tell me how to spend my money, or who treats me like a total gold digger. Having just this snippet of the relationship, one hates to jump to dump him. I don't know if there's been cheating on either side, if Tom had tried to make a move on her at some point, if Jack is just a total insecure dude trying to test for fortune hunters and acting like a total tool in the process, or might be giving off some controlling red flags. I'm not sure how old they all are. I could understand a 19-year-old couple from dysfunctional backgrounds having to talk through, no, it's actually not cheating to have a meal with someone of the opposite sex when we've all been perfectly clear that it's just friends hanging out. I could see the hidden story if Tom got super drunk at a party and Jake attended and let slip he's got a huge crush on OP and is just killing time waiting for the breakup, making Jake unhappy. But this feels just like Jake being pissy that he's not getting a free meal at a restaurant and he's going to insult anyway. Hopefully, he either has many super redeeming qualities, or OP re-examines her relationship goals and standards. Posted by user ThrowawayKittyCat66, titled, Am I the a-hole for letting my boyfriend confront my best friend about her abortion? So, my best friend Felicia has been with her partner Michael for 2 years. Best friends for 8. They've always had a weird relationship. They are very private and haven't been intimate until their 2nd anniversary. They have this really weird arrangement set up, consent stuff and what they'd do if they got pregnant, etc. Felicia ended up getting pregnant despite them using a condom. They both had agreed to abortion and went through the process together. I know emotionally it was a difficult time for the both of them, and I was supportive all the way through. But she hasn't been fun to be around lately, and kind of a Debbie Downer. So, I arranged a double date. My boyfriend, male 21, is a very opinionated guy, but he isn't usually one for confrontation. Upon hearing about the abortion, I told him in confidence, since Felicia and Michael didn't want anyone knowing, he confronted Felicia about it. He's very much against it in certain circumstances. I didn't know until after I told them. He believes that in Felicia's case, it shouldn't be allowed. I never thought in a million years he would do me dirty like that. Basically, the reason they wanted an abortion was because they were too young and didn't have good enough income to provide for a child. My boyfriend argued that they were smart enough, and it wasn't like they were poor, and if they worked harder, they could have had the child or put it up for adoption. Felicia said she could never do that to a child, that it wasn't guaranteed they would have a good life, and that the both of them had dreams and ambitions they just couldn't give up. He ended up ruining the entire evening by calling her a child killer, and saying that she should be ashamed of herself for killing it. Basically, Michael got angry and crap hit the roof. I tried to apologize. I didn't think he would say anything because he usually never would, and it just happened way too quickly for me to intervene properly. She is beyond ticked with me, and said I betrayed her by telling him and by letting him speak to her in that way when she already felt awful, and that I just let it happen. I got annoyed and said she was being a hypocrite because she believes that everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and whilst his opinion is very harsh, it is what he believes, and that she should accept the difference of opinion. She said that we are both insensitive to the situation and would never understand. It's honestly a sticky situation, and it's not like I control what he says or doesn't say. I don't know. Am I the a-hole here, or is it no a-holes here? Edit. Everyone keeps commenting that I gossiped. I and my boyfriend are at a stage where we confide in one another. We've been together for almost 6 months, and we tell each other everything. Edit. Okay, don't need the awful comments and messages left here. I'm sure you'd all have different opinions, knowing that Michael had gotten physical with my boyfriend today. I wouldn't have a different opinion. I'd say good on you, Michael, for standing up for your girlfriend. OP, I can understand you telling him that because you're in a relationship and you're going to confide in him. But if this is something that she didn't want you to tell and she didn't want you to share, it was absolutely not your job or your place to share that information, even with him. You've crossed the line and look what happens. Don't go deflecting blame for this one, saying, oh my god, it's not my fault because I didn't know how he was going to react. He's usually never like this. He's absolutely disgusting for saying those things that he said to her, knowing that he shouldn't have known it, and yet he attacked her regardless. He is 6 feet deep in hell for everything that he's said here in my mind. I think he should have kept his mouth shut and not been so opinionated. You can have your opinions, but you can also control yourself and not be an absolute asshole to people who do not deserve it. That's also a possibility. The blame lays entirely on you and your boyfriend, OP. You both are terrible people for doing this. I would absolutely and instantly cut you off as friends and block you on everything if you had done this to me. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole, and so is your boyfriend. In fact, you both are unequivocally some of the biggest assholes on planet Earth. I hope she dumps you as a friend, and you should reevaluate your own relationship with your boyfriend, as he is someone who would do something so fudging crappy. I was going to be nicer about it, but I think you got this covered. You're the a-hole. Don't tell your friends secrets, especially one like this. Dump your boyfriend, send him back to 1954 where he belongs. Maybe he'll find a nice girl more his speed there. She doesn't deserve nicer. She literally said that her friend was being a Debbie Downer after having an abortion. OP is an ass, and I hope that she loses this friend because she clearly isn't mature enough to handle this friendship. Don't forget, she also started out by shaming the relationship because of a weird consent arrangement, and that they waited until they were comfortable to have sex. Like, OP and her boyfriend are such huge a-holes, I can't believe it. I had to read that twice. The tone of the paragraph confused me. Here's a couple who knew each other for a long time, didn't have sex until they were well into the relationship, which is apparently a very trusting and supportive one, who talked about important issues beforehand and worked through it together. And yet that's weird? Yes, how dare they have a relationship built on trust, communication, and consent? OP says, I got annoyed and said she was being a hypocrite because she believes that everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and whilst his opinion is very harsh, it is what he believes, and that she should accept the difference of opinion. Of course you're the a-hole. How can you defend your boyfriend after he called your so-called best friend a child killer during a double date, which whole purpose was to forget about the fact that she just went through something traumatic? Your boyfriend is a horrible, insensitive jerk with clearly no compassion, and you just stood up for him. Exactly. Like, of course you can have your own opinion, as stupid as it is. But it doesn't mean that people aren't allowed to react to it, and it doesn't mean that you need to share it. Christ, read the room. I don't believe in God. Would I go to a funeral and tell everyone, pfft, he's not in heaven, he's rotting in the ground like the rest? No, because I'm not an idiot with no empathy. OP, you're the a-hole as well as your terribly ignorant boyfriend. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. As always, I want to do a huge shout out to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. You should be up on the screen now. I love you all, and I think every single one of you are amazing for supporting the channel in the way that you do. Again, thank you so much for supporting me. And again, if you did enjoy today's video, please do tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. All of your hot takes, opinions, whatever you think, really, whatever's going on in your life right now, I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Before I leave, I'd also like to announce that I'm going to start doing meme content again on the second channel. I know it's been a while, so click on the Markee head on the screen without the Australian flag behind him if you want to go see some memes. And as always, guys, have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.